it's Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library. And I've got Alderon with me here today, and we are going to talk about a young adult book that just recently came out that I am obsessed with. I really, really loved it. I went into it with no expectations at all, and it just totally blew me away. So, the name of this book is We Won't All Survive, and it's by Kate Alice Marshall. We Won't All Survive. Now, this is a thriller slash mystery young adult book, and this is a genre in the young adult area that has really been exploding with popularity the last few years. And I can understand why. You know, these books are very easily digestible. They're fun, they're intense, they're fast-paced. They're just really fantastic to read and very entertaining. So I have some that are my favorites and others that I really just like to go to as comfort reads. And this one I will be thinking about and talking about for quite some time. I really love this book. Now, first I want to say this author, Kate Alice Marshall, she writes all kinds of books for all ages. She writes middle grade books, she writes obviously young adult books, and she's written some adult books too. And her adult books are actually the ones that I've read before. This is my first time reading her young adult work. And I just absolutely loved it. I thought that not only was it a great thriller in every sense of the word, right? So it was really fast-paced and intense. It hooked my interest right from the get-go, which is really always very important. But it also had a lot of really deeper themes and messages to it that left me thinking about them, even though I finished it like a couple weeks ago, which I love about a book. If you can entertain me, but also hit me in the feels and get me thinking about things for quite a while, that, in my opinion, is a really good indicator of a great book. All right, so what is this book about? So this book is about a teen girl named Mercy who is a little bit famous because 2 years ago, she ended up saving her sister and some other people at a mall shooting. And there's a whole long backstory about that you get as you're reading the story. But she ended up getting shot. She still has some shrapnel in her back, which leaves her sometimes easily fatigued. Sometimes she can't do a lot of physical activity without getting tired or without her back hurting her. And, you know, everybody thinks she's this big hero, even though she really doesn't think she is. And she has a lot of feelings about that. The reason why she ended up saving all those people is because her sister was at the mall, and the person who was doing the shooting was this guy that kept trying to go out with her sister and basically kept pushing her, and the sister kept saying no, and he then finally snapped and went on this rampage, which Mercy then saved her sister and numerous others. So now fast forward 2 years later, they are drowning in medical debt, right? As you know, or maybe you don't know, you know, insurance companies, medical stuff, that stuff really piles up and it sometimes can be impossible or seemingly impossible to pay back. So Mercy desperately wants to be able to send her sister to college, since they had to use a lot of her college money to pay off some of this medical debt. So she's contacted by this billionaire person who is trying to set up this survivalist reality show. And he contacts her and wants her to be a part of it. They're going to basically be in this isolated, town, this isolated place away from everybody else, and they're going to have to survive. And if they're able to survive, like living out in the wild and stuff like that for so long, then they get this large amount of money, which Mercy's like, yes, I have to do this. I have to be able to get this money so I can give my sister a better life, and try to get out under all of this medical debt. And when she decides to go and do this, and she meets up with the other contestants, something doesn't feel right. There's nobody there to greet them. They're just basically dropped off in this, like, isolated, like, desert town. There's no supplies that they can easily see. There's this huge gate that locks them all in. But worst of all, within a day or two, one of the contestants is dead under very suspicious circumstances. And Mercy begins to wonder, is this part of this whole survivalist experience, or is something else going on here, something worse? And other contestants start dropping dead too, and it's up to Mercy and the ones who are left if she can trust them, to try to figure out what is going on. So there's a lot to unpack here, right? This book reminded me a little bit of the one Ruth Ware book. I think it was called One by One, that also had to do with like a survival reality TV show. I think that there's a lot to be said for people consuming that type of media, right? Which this book is definitely making making a stance on, right? The things that we will do for the people we love, you know, especially when it involves trying to get out from underneath debt, medical debt, things like that. But this story is also about listening to women, because Mercy, despite saving a lot of people that day at the mall shooting, she carries a lot of guilt because she feels responsible for it, because her sister tried telling her, hey, this guy is creeping me out. I don't like him. I don't like that he's always around. He keeps trying to push me, you know, into dating him. And Mercy just kind of blew it off because he was a nice guy. He was always so sweet. What did her sister mean? Why can't you just be nice to him? Give him a shot. And she carries a lot of guilt from that too, that she has to work through as the book progresses. So you've got those issues, but then you've got the whole, you know, issue of this whole mystery, like what is going on with this reality show? Can she trust these other contestants, many of whom she's forming bonds and friendships with? Is the killer one of them? Is the killer the guy who's running the survivalist TV show? What is going on here? So I thought this book was fantastic. It gave me a lot to chew on in terms of really deep and awesome themes, but it also was super fast paced. It was not very long at all. It was less than 300 pages, if I'm not mistaken. Just a little over 300 pages. So it's a very short book. It kept me guessing. It kept me thinking. I read it so quickly because I could not wait to get to the end. It is fabulous. A fabulous piece of writing. I absolutely loved it. If you are looking for a really great young adult thriller, mystery, pick this one up. I promise you will not regret it. We won't all survive. Well, that's what I've got for you guys today. I hope that this book sounds really awesome and that it's something that you want to pick up. If so, please feel free to come and get it from Farmington Community Library. It is available there. And also, thank you very much for watching, friends. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day.